Welcome to Open Range. I'm your host, Gary M. And we have a special privilege today talking to a former NFL football player who's in North Dakota for an event with the Teen Challenge. This has been recorded, and we'll miss the event itself that happened in Williston. But there's going to be a couple events we're going to talk about with Teen Challenge here and later in the show as we go through it. So we're going to be talking to Rickey Bolden, who played for the Cleveland Browns, and at some point in his career decided he was going to go to school to be a pastor, and now he's a PhD pastor and does a number of things in Washington and meets with people like congressmen and talks to them about their faith and their life and how to serve people in the great way in government, but also to maybe follow the Lord in different ways. So, Rickey, welcome to Open Range.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
So before we get into it, I always want my viewers to know who's Rickey Bolden. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good. Well, I was born and raised in Dallas, Texas. My mother had 10 babies in 10 years. And it was just an amazing home because we really didn't have a lot. And in Dallas, I had a tremendous amount of trauma early in my life. My father passed away when I was 11 years old, and that caused a lot of pain in our family. My brother Charles, he at 13 picked up a gun and he put it to his head and he pulled the trigger. He shot himself. And then at 15, my brother Wallace went to prison. He got out and he was murdered. And then my brother Keith has been in prison since '87. And then I got shot. I was an All-American football player, an All-State basketball player, and I got shot. And so I had to look for a way to overcome a lot of the tragedies that was occurring in my life. And I chose sports. I went to high school. By the time I was a senior, I was an All-American in football. And I was being recruited by every school, pretty much D1 school in the nation. And it was amazing. I chose to stay at home in Dallas because my mom wasn't doing well with her health. I was drafted in 1984 to the Cleveland Browns, and it was just one of the most outstanding 7 years I had in my life. And then in my 7th season, I decided to retire because God had called me into the ministry. And so I decided to walk away, go finish up seminary. And 2 years later, I was in Washington, D.C. pastoring my first church.
So, Rickey, you grew up in a family of 10. Where were you in the order of the 10 kids?
Yes, I was number 7.
Number 7. So you're near the end of it all.
Yes.
So you were the young one. And so you had some real tragedy with your brothers and living through all of that and growing up in Dallas and then deciding to stay there. I mean, that's pretty heavy for a young man to take on, and for you to decide sports was going to be your thing. And obviously you did well at it because you got laser focused on that.
Yes.
And you obviously had some talent. So talk about growing up and playing sports and competing and the impact it had on your life, whether they're coaches or people that were around you to help you think through some of the tragedy that you've had.
Yes, well, I really didn't have a lot of people to process the tragedy with me. I remember growing up, my father told me, he told me I would never play football. He did not want me to do that. He thought that football was a violent sport and he felt that I would be hurt, which he was 100% correct, but he wouldn't let me play, and I always envied my father for that. And then I can remember when my father passed away, there was a certain part of me that was a little excited because I knew I could go out and play football. And so I went out but I started meeting these great coaches. And my coaches, they were really the father that I never had. And so when I went to Hillcrest High School, had wonderful coaches. And believe it or not, my freshman year, I had colleges come and start talking to me about going to school. And I just hung in there for 4 years, and it was just outstanding. Probably the coach I was closest with was Larry Jones, my basketball coach. He was a great mentor. He had a young lady that he was dating, and I just used to sit there and watch them hold hands. And I always said, man, I want to be like Coach Jones when I get older. And then when I went to college, I had great coaches like Ron Meyer. And I looked up to him, and he was just simply a great role model. And then finally in Cleveland, probably the coach that made the greatest impact in my life was a guy by the name of Marty Schottenheimer. His son is now coaching the Dallas Cowboys. And believe it or not, his son was only about 5 or 6 years old when I was in Cleveland. But Marty, I won't ever forget Marty. I had a game. I had 5 holding penalties in one game. And I was walking off the field really disappointed. And I remember Marty Schottenheimer walking up to me, grabbing me, hugging me, and he looked me in my eyes. And he said, Rick, you'll be my starter as long as you're here. I believe in you. And that was the first time a man ever told me, I believe in you.
Wow, that's a powerful story. Marty Schottenheimer, he's a great coach.
Oh, great, outstanding.
Great coach, great career in NFL coaching. He had
Yes.
and now his son's coaching. That's a pretty amazing story. So what position did you play? So you played basketball, and you're a pretty good sized guy. So
Yes.
I imagine you blocked a few people out underneath the basket when you were
Yes.
they were trying to go in for a rebound. But you played basketball, and talk about that a little bit before we dig into football.
You know, basketball, I loved basketball, and I can remember my junior year in high school, I decided, hey, it is time to give up football. You want to go 100% basketball. So I went to my football coach, Olin Garrison, and told him, hey, I'm going to quit football. I want to go basketball because I enjoyed it more. And I won't ever forget Coach Garrison taking me into his office. And for the first time, he took a box from up under his desk and he placed it on top of his desk. And he said, what do you think these things are? And I said, I don't know. What are they? He said, these are colleges trying to call you and communicate with you about attending their college to play football. And he said, there are 450 letters in this box. And that was pretty impressive. Then he said, go to Coach Jones, the basketball coach, ask him how many boxes does he have. So I went to Coach Jones and I said, Coach, how many letters do I have in basketball? And Coach Jones looked and he went into his desk drawer and he brought out 3 letters and he said, here they are. And I said, I better start back to football.
Well, obviously that was a good call because you ended up in the NFL.
That's right.
And so you stayed in Dallas at SMU. So talk to us about what position you played, and we're going to show a little video clip of you. It goes back to Cleveland Brown days, part of our opening, and talk to that a little bit. But share with us a little bit about your the position you played and the size, because you got to be a pretty big guy. And I got a little research before you came here. So tell us a little bit about it for our viewers that haven't.
Yes. Well, when SMU recruited me, I weighed 240 pounds. I was a small guy, and I loved playing tight end. That was my position. But also in high school, I played tight end and inside linebacker. But at SMU, they wanted me to play tight end, and I won't ever forget. I went there, and I mean, the problem I had is I was a great blocker. I just couldn't catch the ball very well, and that's not good for a tight end. And so even when the NFL started to recruit me, they projected me as an offensive lineman. They said, we want this guy to move, he's fast, and we can put some weight on him, and we're gonna move him to offensive line. So when I went to the NFL Combine, they were already talking about me being transitioned to the offensive line. And so I remember when the Browns drafted me, they made it very clear, you're gonna be a tackle next year. And so in my contract, they had a bonus that I would make $60,000 bonus if I could put on 60 pounds over the summer. And so I went back home, and Mama did what she does best. She cooked up all kinds of good soul food, and within 2 months, I had gained that 60 pounds, and I went back to collect my check. But it also was the beginning of me moving to the offensive line.
So you put on 60 pounds. So how fast? So you obviously were pretty quick in the 40. That's where they measure it, mostly running backs and tight ends. So you were pretty fast, you said.
Yes. And at SM, when I went to the NFL Combine, my time was a 4.640.
4.640.
Yes. And once I put on the 60 pounds, I was a 4.840, which was faster than any of the linemen in the league.
Well, that's incredible. But you put on 60 pounds.
Yes.
Now, that couldn't have been all muscle mass.
Oh, no. And they, what is so funny is that the Browns didn't want it to be muscle mass. They want you to just put on the weight, and no matter how much fat, and then you go to the Browns, and they would transform it into muscle. And so they took me through a strenuous program to help me develop my body, get used to moving. They taught me how to get in a left-handed stance, since I would be playing left tackle. And they just transformed my game.
So you're left tackle. See, is that the blind side?
Yes, that was the backside.
That's the blind side. That's the one that you have to be. They put the star there. That's guy.
Right.
So how long did you start right away? I don't even know when you started for the Browns. Well, you ended up there. You got drafted.
Yes, in 1984 I was drafted, and I played tight end that first year. Well, between my first and second years when I put on the 60 pounds. So I went in, and it was amazing, because we started the preseason, and the coaches thought I would be okay playing. But I remember the last preseason game, we played against this guy, and His name was Lyle Alzado.
Lyle,
Yes.
oh yeah, I know who Lyle Zeno.
You remember
Oh,
Lyle?
absolutely.
Yeah, that's an old name. Well, Lyle, I had been watching Lyle since I was in junior high school. This guy would rip guys' heads off.
He's a monster.
Yes, and so he was the first game I played at left tackle, and the coach did not prepare me that I would be playing for him. And when the coach said, Rick, you're going to be starting this game, and we're going to put you up against Lyle Alzado, my heart dropped. I said, Lord, I remember him tearing guys' heads off. And I can remember going out on that field, and Lyle Alzado ate my lunch. It was so bad that they went out and the center would snap the ball. I was frozen on the line. Lyle would go around, and he wouldn't even pursue the quarterback. He'd come back, grab me by my face mask, drag me, and kick me. And I was like, man, I cannot do this. And I will never forget, 4 games, Marty just really trusted me. He really believed in me. And I can remember he put me on the bench for 2 games. And that 3rd game came up, and our right tackle got hurt. And Cody Rydson was the right tackle. And I can remember, Marty, they went out and traded to the Dallas Cowboys for a right tackle to come in and play for Cody, who had gotten hurt. And I was sitting there on the bench, and I'm like, well, why won't you use me? But they had lost confidence in me. And so I remember when he came in, I said, I am better than him. And I watched more film that week. I was up until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning because I wasn't practicing. They wanted him to take all the snaps to prepare for the game. And I remember when that game came. And the first series occurred, he did horribly. And I was on the sideline, and I'm frustrated. And then the second series happened, and I'm even more frustrated. And the third series, he gave up a sack. The guy hit Bernie in the back. And I said, that's enough. So I took out running out on the field. And I was just psyched. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but I'm just psyched up like, okay, it's time to go to work. So I ran up to the line. And so Bernie, we started in the huddle. I said, Bernie. And Bernie said, well, who sent you in? And I said, don't worry about it. We're going to run 34. I knew I could run block. He couldn't beat me in a run block. I said, we're going to run 34. And I said, that's what the coach told me to tell you. So Bernie called it. Well, the coach is on the sideline getting ready to send a receiver in with a play. But we were at the line of scrimmage, and we ran 34. And Ernest Biner, he squirted through the hole for about 9 yards. And I jumped up, and I went back. I was really psyched. I said, Bernie, we're going to run the same play. And we ran that same play about 6 times in a row. And we went down and scored. And then all of a sudden, I thought about it. I was like, the coach didn't send me in. Now I've got to go back to the sideline and address these coaches. And when I got to the sideline, Marty looked at me and started smiling, and he hugged me and he said, hey, welcome to the NFL.
Wow, that's
You're my
fantastic.
starting tackle.
That's a fabulous story. We're going to go to the break, come back. I got a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
So we've been talking to Rickey Bolden, former NFL player, pastor. I'm your host, Gary Emmett. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Stop out to our facility, Highway 22 South. Let us build a truck for you.
Hello and welcome to the MHA Interpretive Center. It's the perfect stop along the Lewis and Clark Trail and the cultural hub of the Mandan, Hiraadza, and Arikara Nation. Nestled along the shores of Lake Sagagawea in Newtown, North Dakota, 1 mile west of the Four Bears Casino. You can enjoy amphitheater performances, art exhibitions, and educational workshops utilizing our Living Cultural Center. Enjoy some coffee, browse our gift shop, and learn about the original people of this land. Learn more at mhanation.com/interpretive center.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza.
Home on the Range offers a nurturing place for teens who may have just come from an unsafe or traumatic environment. Here, they receive therapy and education services centered around animals, and the surrounding nature provides opportunities for work, fun, and healing. Life skills learned at home on the range are carried with residents when they return to the community with new talents and a greater appreciation for themselves and others.
Are you dealing with arthritis, nerve and back pain, dry skin, or superficial wounds, but found no relief? Give Stewart's Natural Health a try. For over 4 decades, Stewart's Natural Health has been helping people and animals with herbal and natural oil lotions, ointments, and creams with a mission to help you relieve pain and feel your best using the power of nature. Discover the safe, drug-free solution to your pain, guaranteed or your money back. Visit stewartsnatural.health today.
West River Equipment of Mandan is here to help you maintain peak productivity in your operation. As an authorized dealer for many high-quality equipment lines, we have the new and used equipment it takes to make your farming, ranching, or construction operation profitable and efficient. West River Equipment also has the parts on hand and the experienced technicians in our shop to get your equipment back in action fast. Find what you need at West River Equipment on Old Red Trail in Mandan.
Welcome back to Open Range. I'm your host, Gary. I'm talking to Rickey Bolden, former Cleveland Brown offensive tackle and tight end. But also he's in town, he's a pastor, and he's speaking at a Teen Challenge event that will be, that was held last week. And but there's a couple events coming up. And so Rickey, you're in with speaking at a couple events, actually 3 events, but 2 of them are going to be coming up. One on the 7th in November and one on the 14th of November. Maybe we could bring those slides up and look at it. So you're going to be the key event up there. I see your picture up there. All Things New, the 2025 Gala. And this is November 7th in Minot. And we'll promote it more for the viewers out there as time goes. We'll promote it on social media to do it. And there's a second event coming up. Same thing, Gala. This one's going to be in Bismarck on November 14th. And there's a little barcode on the bottom you can scan. We'll get some information out for our viewers out there so they know how to get tickets. I assume there's a website that's related to the event itself, but Teen Challenge, there we go, tc4hope.org. It's amazing Teen Challenge. I've known a lot of people that have gone through it. I'd rather they didn't, but it's a great thing if you have to go through Teen Challenge. Right. It's a fabulous thing. So, Rickey, thank you for coming to North Dakota. So let's pivot a little bit. I still want to talk a little bit more football because there's a lot of great stories I'm sure in there yet. But what brought you to the point with the Teen Challenge to come in, talk to these people that have had drugs, that are in treatment? I mean, and many of them have been to numerous programs, and sometimes this is the last program. So what message do you give these young men and women, not necessarily young, that are going through the Teen Challenge?
Yeah, a lot of the times, when I go into a program like Teen Challenge, first of all, I've used the program over and over, not personally, but I know that guys, as I was pastoring, I would send members of our church to Teen Challenge, and guys who struggle, men and women who would struggle with addiction. And one of the wonderful things about Teen Challenge is it's biblically based. And I think that that's why they have so much success in the program. I look so forward to come here and to be able to give them hope and encouragement. A lot of times there are reasons why we turn to drugs. And so whether it's our inability to forgive, whether it is we've never been taught to love, or whether it is we don't actually know who we are, we don't value ourselves. There's a lot of reasons why people turn to drugs. But Teen Challenges, because they dig so much into Scripture, they look at the person holistically. That's what encourages me. And then plus, I'm from the inner city, and so I've had to help many family members overcome drugs and addiction.
So you were in the NFL played 6 seasons. In your 7th year, you felt called by God to go to ministry. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, see, the journey really started my first year. I remember when I first got to Cleveland, I was having a horrible training camp. And it was in that training camp that I put my trust and confidence in Jesus. And I just won't ever forget this guy, Tom Petersburg, he was a chaplain. He began to walk with me, disciple me, try to build me up. And so I was playing football, but I wanted more. I wanted to study the Scriptures more. I wanted to know God more. And so Tom invited me to go take a class with him at the seminary. He wanted me to visit the class. And I remember when I went to that class, I just sensed God really calling me to study more. And I asked Tom, well, what do I need to do to take this class? He said, well, first you need to get your degree from SMU. And I went back the following off season and I got my degree from SMU. I came back and enrolled in Ashland. And then every off season I was taking classes at Ashland and just really preparing myself for ministry. So even when I was preparing to leave the field, I had a door that I was able to walk through because I knew exactly what I sensed God wanting me to do. And so I went back, graduated from Ashland, and even I went back 2 years later after I got my Master's of Divinity, and that's when I did my doctorate, because I was very specific at what God wanted me to do.
And so you've been pastoring, so this would have been, you said you entered the NFL in 1984,
Yes.
7 years, 91,
Yes.
92 or 3. So this has been, you've been at this a long time pastoring.
Yes, yes.
Have you been in the East Coast? You're in Bowie, Maryland, where you're pastoring now.
Yes.
Have you been on the East Coast the whole time?
Yes, I was.
Pastoring?
Well, I pastored a local church for 20 years.
I see.
I started in D.C., I did that 9 years, and then I went to LaGrange, Georgia. And then I left LaGrange and I came back to D.C., and that's when I started working with leadership. I really sensed that God wanted me to go and pastor the world. And so that's when I began to start. I started to meet with congressmen. I started to meet with senators. I started to meet with leaders on the Hill, build relationships with these leaders. And I really, really wanted to take the message of reconciliation. I saw all the walls being built on the Hill. And I started asking God, how can I have an impact in tearing down some of these walls? So I simply started to build these relationships and sit down. And if you, on Thursday mornings that Congress is in session, we have this wonderful, wonderful time together with both Republicans and Democrats. We have a breakfast together. One of them will share their testimony. We read scripture together, and we simply fellowship together. We do that every week they're in session. And so that fascinated me. And now I travel around the world. Last 2 years, I've gone to Kenya. I just got back from Scotland, went to Oxford, and went to London. I'm going to Asia in 2 months. And so just meeting with leaders so that we can build a bridge with leaders from around the world to leaders on Capitol Hill.
Do you feel, I mean, we are so partisan right now and so divided. I mean, it's just like with the tragedy with Charlie Kirk. It just makes things, heightens everything, but it really exposes where the people are right now in partisan politics. Do you have any hope that can be overcome?
Yeah, I think that really Jesus is the only hope of the world. But you know, one of the things that I really believe in is this principle of love. That this partisan politics causes us to hate one another. And we're always posturing one another as enemies. And I don't believe that that's how God called especially Christ followers to be, to look at one another. And what's funny to me is that if you go to Matthew 22, Jesus says our purpose is to love one another. If you just read that scripture, he says we're to love the Lord thy God with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength, love our neighbor, and then love ourselves. And I won't ever forget the time that it finally clicked. I said, now Jesus commands us as brothers and sisters, we're to love one another, as Christ followers. And a lot of times we try to do that well. But what if a person doesn't want to be a brother or sister? What if they demote themselves? And they said, instead of being a brother and sister, I want to be your neighbor. That's it. Well, what does Jesus say about our neighbors? He said we are to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. But then what if a person says, okay, well, I don't want to be a brother, I don't want to be a neighbor, I'm going to reduce you even more. You're my enemy. What does Jesus say? Our response should be to our enemies. We should love our enemies. And so what's so beautiful about the gospel message is it is the hope. And until Christ followers can begin to meet together, can begin to dialogue, to say, listen, we can disagree in our politics, but we're commanded to love one another. I have to respect you. I have to honor you. I have to care for you. But my job primarily is to love you. And until we can get to that type of space, I think it is only then will we be able to work through issues that happened like yesterday, the pain of partisan politics.
Well, you know, you just take the whole message that Jesus brought. It was so opposite of what the Jewish leaders were prepared for, you know, and obviously Jesus came out of the Jewish race, of course, but then moving towards the Gentiles, and they break down these walls. I mean, there's no male or female, there's no Gentile or Jew.
That's right.
The list goes on, and you know, in America, we have this ability to have freedom and to this discourse, this debate, discussion. I love that. I think it's important.
Yes.
And I have a lot of good Democrat friends, and I just don't agree with you, but I can still love you. We can still get together and have fellowship with it. Sometimes it's a little stretchy if we get off on the wrong subject. Trump has done a lot to kind of like push him a little bit, but there's still a lot of political people that aren't quite as in your face.
That's right. That's right. And that's, you know, even when we come together on Thursday mornings on the Hill, you will see guys that are making the effort. You will see 25 or 30 men and women that will be meeting together to say, you know, we don't agree with one another, but we've been commanded to love one another. And that's what's so exciting about me. I get to see them in this wonderful, vulnerable space. Or you'll get to hear a Democrat share his testimony and a Republican like John Molinar walk up and say, man, I just didn't realize that. And they embrace one another because they can embrace their journey now.
Yeah, see, that is so true. And you can embrace as brothers in Christ,
Yes.
but also just humanity in general.
That's right.
I had someone tell me the other day, and it was something, we're leading a Bible study, my wife and I, that we are not a body with a spirit or soul. We're a spirit and soul. We just happen to have a body, right?
That's right.
And that's something no one ever heard of me before. And it was like, when I said that, I'm like, whoa, when someone shared that with me, I was like, that's powerful. We're going to go to the break. So we've been talking to Rickey Bolden. I'm your host, Gary M., and stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Base Flug Trailers of Dickinson is a family-owned dealer with expert staff that know their products front to back. We stock over 150 units of all types and can custom order a trailer with the unique features and capabilities you require for brands you can trust. Our experienced service team is the reason we're also the best place to have your trailer customized or repaired. Count on Base Flug Trailers of Dickinson to keep you hauling.
Are you looking for something special or one of a kind? At Bassett Motors, we can help you find exactly what you want.
Come on in and experience how small-town hospitality and personal service can make car buying a pleasure.
We know interest rates are important to you. We have multiple lenders to negotiate your lowest payment.
Visit us on Highway 281 in Carrington, North Dakota, and online at BassettMotors.com. Bassett Motors, where our customers send their friends.
Yeah, U.S. Cattlemen is a member organization that each member has a vote in anything we do with policy. We're representing the independent cattleman or the cow-calf guy or an independent feeder or whatever. We like to support the independent producer. Talking about mandatory ID, we're talking about cool, we're talking about all the legislation that's going to be coming down with the new administration. There's going to be lots of moving and shaking, so always check us out at our website, uscattleman.org.
I'm $27,000 in credit card debt.
Okay.
You have to radically do something different, because if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting.
Now's not the time to be doing math. The time to be doing math was when we didn't go into $200,000 of debt.
If you are freaked out and you're stuck in these debt payments and you think it has to be a part of your life, it doesn't.
We're the ladies of Another View. Join us at 9 a.m. weekday mornings.
We'll discuss issues you care about from local and national perspectives.
You'll hear unique stories from fellow North Dakotans, plus topics in the national spotlight.
Start your day off right with Ladies of Another View.
Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Beck TV and online at beck.news.
Welcome back to Open Range. I'm your host, Gary. I'm talking to Rickey Bolden, former NFL player who's in North Dakota and going to be here for the couple events in November with Team Challenge. And Rickey, for the break, we talked a little bit about what you're doing on the Hill in Washington, D.C. And these are the events that we're going to be talking about. You had them up there for just a second, one in Bismarck on November 14th and November 7th to be in Minot. But you're talking about these world leaders that traveling with them, and so you're trying to connect with Washington. Talk to us a little bit about kind of the people you're seeing and what your message is about how, because I mean with Trump in there now, he's kind of poking everybody and all over the place, you know. And people are just like America; they're going like, I'm not so sure I can trust you anymore. Mm-hmm. But Trump, I believe, has got a purpose in what he's doing, and I respect what he's attempting to do in that area. We'll see what the end result's going to be in time.
Yes,
but
yes.
Talk to me a little bit about what that's like and who these people you're seeing about and what your goal is.
Yes, you know, a lot of times, specifically with President Trump, and I get people on both sides complaining. They're frustrated and they don't know how to handle them. And it's the same principle that our job is to love President Trump. And we don't have to agree with him to love him. And he will respond. I really do believe that President Trump will respond when people love him. And so it's a part of that is helping them process that. What does that look like? And especially for a Democrat. I work a lot with the National Prayer Breakfast. And it's amazing because the last couple of times President Trump's been there, he gives just this speech that is extremely partisan. And so the Democrats, did you hear that? And so they'll want to come up to my room and they want to complain. Oh, did you hear that? What can we do? We've got to stop that. And I'm saying, wait a minute. We don't know what the Lord is doing. Our job is to follow Jesus. It is not to follow anyone but Jesus. And so primarily to help them continue to focus on Jesus. Yeah. Because he's our king. He is the King of Kings. A lot of times when I'm traveling around the world, though, I enjoy it because I get, when I go to Kenya, I have met a group of businessmen there, and they come every year to the prayer breakfast. Last year, over 40 Kenyans came to the National Prayer Breakfast. And then I get to sit with the president. I get to meet with members of parliament and members of their Senate. And so it's to build these relationships. So when they get here, I will have relationships. And so I've said Kenya a couple of times because what was so fascinating is they had been coming to the National Prayer Breakfast for over 30 years. And as I was sitting in Kenya talking with them, they said, we've never met an African-American congressman. And I said, really? I said, now that's fascinating. They said, no, we always meet white congressmen. And I said, you've got to be kidding. And so I try to be the solution, right?
Absolutely.
And so I let them meet every radical African-American that I possibly could. I said, so it was amazing because I set up meetings. For example, I said, you've got to realize that there are Republican African-American congressmen. I want you to see it from a very broad perspective, that you cannot just pigeonhole African-Americans and say that we all agree and believe the same thing. 20% voted for President Trump. And so I said, we're not this group of people that believe the same. So I take them over. We have one of our congressmen on the Hill, and he played on the Raiders Super Bowl team in 1980. And I took a group of Kenyans over to meet him, and they just loved him. And then I said, well, let me take them to the opposite extreme. I took them to Maxine Waters' office.
Oh, my goodness.
Don't you love it? And so they went over, but they loved her.
Yeah, I imagine they would, because she'd have to be like about the most entertaining you could get to.
No. You know what really blew my mind is how much she loved and cared for them.
She did.
I was expecting her to be really, tough. I was like, oh Lord,
these are Christian Kenyans.
Right.
I don't adhere to this principle.
Right. I put my seatbelt on. But she was just gracious. And there was a group of ladies that I had there. And they went in and they took pictures and she hugged them and she kissed them and she prayed for them. And I was saying, wow, this is amazing. And then I said, well, let me give them one more shot of another one. So then I took them to, one of my best meetings was with Jonathan Jackson. I don't know if you know Jonathan.
No, I don't.
Jonathan's father was Jesse Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Who was really active in the civil rights movement. And so I said, okay, so I'm going to take them to Jonathan's. Jonathan gave them so many gifts. He loved them so well. And then I went in and I said, so now let me in. And I have a great friend, Michael Guest. He's in my Wednesday Bible study. And I said, let me take him to Michael's office. And Michael's my white brother. And he loved them so well. And it just really changed their paradigm. So when I went to the Kenyan National Prayer Breakfast back in May, they treated me like a king. They're like, because I try to go there on a regular basis. I try to go every year to their prayer breakfast. And now I'm going to other countries in Africa. And so that I can begin to say, how do we begin to connect the world to the hill? Yeah. And so that's been real challenging. Last year I spoke at the National Prayer Breakfast in Kenya. And I had the wonderful privilege of saying some real hard things to the president. And sometimes God calls us to do that. And he probably wasn't the most excited, but I just told him he needed to apologize to his young people. There have been riots. They've been maced. 3 were killed. And I said, when you're an adult, you have to make adult decisions. And you cannot shut down the internet knowing that that's the primary way of communicating. And so they didn't like it. But I get to speak truth to power, and I enjoy that.
So when you've traveled and you've seen that, do you see, like in Africa, you've seen the rise of Christianity? There's a big, the Muslim movement, the Arab movement with the Muslims has been pretty intense worldwide as they've come into different countries throughout Europe. And so what do you see happening in the countries? Because there's that big battle. I mean, it's a spiritual battle. We know it is. But that's going on right now. What would you say you're seeing, like when you were in Kenya? Is the gospel going forward in a strong way, or is it taking some hits? I mean, are they retreating because of just the pressure from all the external forces?
Yeah, I don't see retreating. One of the challenges I think all over the world is America sets the pace, and whatever they see in America, that's what you're going to see in the rest of the world. And so all of a sudden, if you see prosperity gospel in America, you're going to see prosperity gospel in Kenya. If you hear a conservative gospel in America, you're going to get that out of Kenya. And so America is like the litmus test. If you really want to see what's going on spiritually in the world, just look at America. And that's why I think it's so important as I meet with leaders to say, brothers, we've got to love each other. We've got to reset the dial. And we've got to reset it back 2,000 years so that we can begin to love our enemies and love our neighbors and love our brothers. And so just going there and helping them reset the dial is what's most important to me.
Yeah, I can see where that message is so important because in politics, it's kind of, we're at war with each other, even when we're neighbors to some degree, because we have our own national interest. And many people are in for the wrong reasons, and it becomes power, if you will, or they're trying to consolidate power, and they step on people.
Yes.
And it is really about people at the end of the day. It's not about only your own pocketbook or your own agenda. It's really about loving other people, and that's really a terrific message that you're taking.
One of the challenges I gave myself, I have not been successful, but I said, what if I could get to stand on the stage at the National Prayer Breakfast, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jasmine Crockett?
Wow. That would be something.
I said,
that's ambitious. I'll tell you, that's very ambitious, but stay at it. So
but Jesus can do it.
That's right.
See, I can't do it, but Jesus can do it. And if we can get the Holy Spirit just to tug at both of their hearts and to say, ladies, what if you stood together and you said, we're going to love each other. We're going to love each other. We're not going to say foul words. Because if you remember, I don't know if you remember when Bill Clinton was president, he sat down with Newt Gingrich, and they sat down and said, hey, we're not going to dishonor each other in public. They made agreement with one another. Yeah. And that was the only time we really balanced the budget, right?
Yeah, only time.
Yeah.
And those two had a lot of secret meetings, and they had a lot of things they did together.
That's right.
I'm doing a series on Open Range called On the Horn, and I had Dick Armey. And Dick Armey was majority leader, and I don't know if he is a North Dakota guy from Texas, and I've done 6 hours with him.
Wow.
And his show's on every Friday night. I'm doing a show with him talking about it. And he made a profession of faith late in life as a congressman. He was majority leader flying to New York City for a conference, and he was getting all these Christians around him were trying to get him, and he kind of believed about God but all of a sudden he said, I'm heading to New York, and I decided, I'm going out there to meet with strange people I don't know, but I'm fighting. The biggest thing that who wants to pursue me more than anything is Jesus Christ. And I decided right there in that airplane, I'm going to serve the Lord. And he said, I became a Christian by myself on the airplane.
Wow.
And it's not like I hadn't heard it. I just was resisting it. So I appreciate you coming on Open Range and sharing all that you're doing. And I'm excited that maybe if we can get a window, we'll have you back in November. When you're back in Bismarck. We'd love to have you back because your message is very important. Many people need to hear it. So, Rickey, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So we've been talking to Rickey Bolden, former Cleveland Brown NFL player, pastor, who's in North Dakota. November 14th, you'll be in Bismarck, and November 7th in Minot. We'll get more information out to you. I'm your host, Gary Emina. Thanks for watching.
Hey y'all, it's Trent on the loose. I want to tell you, Lady Blue and I, we got a lot of miles together, but you know what? You and I got a lot of miles together as well. And all I want to do is bring to you the information on how we maintain a domestic supply of food and fuel for future generations. So I'm going to continue to travel the world and unearth the stories that make it possible that we can live in a free United States of America.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza. Are you dealing with arthritis, nerve and back pain, dry skin, or superficial wounds, but found no relief? Give Stewart's Natural Health a try. For over 4 decades, Stewart's Natural Health has been helping people and animals with herbal and natural oil lotions, ointments, and creams with a mission to help you relieve pain and feel your best using the power of nature. Discover the safe, drug-free solution to your pain, guaranteed or your money back. Visit stewartsnatural.health today.
West River Equipment of Mandan is here to help you maintain peak productivity in your operation. As an authorized dealer for many high-quality equipment lines, we have the new and used equipment it takes to make your farming, ranching, or construction operation profitable and efficient. West River Equipment also has the parts on hand and the experienced technicians in our shop to get your equipment back in action fast. Find what you need at West River Equipment on Old Red Trail in Mandan.
At Schatz Crossroads, we make 8 gallons of homemade ranch dressing every day, so you can smother your dinner salad with it, dip those crispy golden French fries in it, and dunk your breaded chicken strips. You can even cover your... Wait, no, you can't put ranch on steak, or can you? Schatz Crossroads, don't forget the ranch.
Since 1980, Circle Sanitation has been providing exceptional waste hauling services to every customer, big or small. Whether you just need reliable weekly pickup, roll-off containers for major projects at home or the construction site, or your needs are somewhere in between, Circle Sanitation has you covered. We're a locally owned family business and currently seeking dependable men and women to add to our team. Wages are competitive and benefits comprehensive. Call us today or visit circlesanitation.com.
What's going on, everyone? Dr. Jake Schmitz back with another Freedom Health Talk on Open Range. Excited to be here today. I say that every single time because I am. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk. I'm excited to talk to you specifically about, something that will hopefully move the needle for your health. This is one of those topics I have presented on comfortably 100 times to the public in group settings, standing in front of 100 people and talking or whatever. This topic is something that, I really wish that I could talk about it once and then we don't have to talk about it again. And I think it's something that, in my opinion, if you focus on the negative, you get more negative. If you focus on the positive, you tend to get more positive. It doesn't mean it's all sunshine and rainbows, but generally speaking, if we focus on good things, we get good things. That's the whole the whole point of gratitude and being grateful. And in fact, there's been studies on that where, the more that you can focus on gratitude and gratefulness, you get more good things in your life. Part of that is your reticular activating system in your brain, that what you think about and what you focus on, you see more of. And here's an example of that. When you buy that car that you think nobody in the city has, and the second you get in that car and start driving around, all of a sudden you're like, wow, where didn't everybody? Oh, wait, they had it already. You weren't the first person to get that car. Your brain didn't register as that as something to care about. So what you focus on, you get more of, and you see more of it in the world. So this topic, unfortunately, is the kind of the negative perspective, and we could twist the positive as gratefulness. So what's the opposite of this? And it's probably not the opposite, but I'm going to use it as such. Stress. We're going to talk about stress. Stress kills. I'm going to say that again. Stress kills. It literally is killing you. Stress is killing you. It kills everyone. And this is because of the response, the physiological hormone response to stress. Now, when I say stress, I want you thinking really anything. It could be an emotional stressor, like going through a divorce or a death in the family. I have one patient who just lost both of her parents within, I think she said, 2 days of each other. That's stressful. And I don't care how old you are when that happens. That's stressful. And there's a whole cascade of events. And surprise, surprise, would you be shocked to find out that this particular person is having a whole bunch of pain and the immune system is down? No, you wouldn't be surprised with that, because that's what happens with stress. Under periods of chronic stress, you are going to be more likely to get sick, to suffer, to have, if you're a person that has had injuries in the past, you're more likely to have a recurrence of those things. That's a fact. So again, I don't want to really hammer down on, let's focus on the stress, but I think we need to understand it. So the physiological response to stress. So here's what happens. You have the stressful event. It's okay, I had a death in the family, or there's a chemical, like I ingested artificial sweeteners, let's just say, or some chemical that's not good for me. I mean, I could go through a list of them. And there's a lot of ways to get these chemicals inside of you. Some things are presented to you as healthy by medical doctors. I'm not going to talk about what specifically, but I think if you think about it, you'll figure it out. They're toxic. Anyway, so you have a chemical stressor, or there's a physical stressor. You get in a car wreck. That's a physical stressor. You stressed your body. And by the way, generally speaking, there's some variance to this, but you're going to have the same hormone response to this stressor. And that's going to be the hormone cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. Now, there's a whole lot of other hormones that come into play. And these are, cortisone specifically is an adrenal hormone, adrenal, above your kidneys. So adrenal hormone. So cortisol is important. And I always try to explain this to people. When you think about, if I was in the woods camping, I don't camp. I don't like outside. I don't like going out there. I don't like bugs. I'm a wuss. I don't like those things. I just don't. And that's just me. I know myself. Know thyself. I don't like those things. So I just don't do those things. Camping for me would be, I would be in a camper or a hotel. But that's just me. I'm not really an outdoorsy guy. So, that's about me. But anyway, so if you're out camping, and let's say that you're out in, Montana somewhere, right? Beautiful. I've done it before. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous out there. They have these things called bears. Not beautiful. Well, maybe from a distance. So let's say you're sleeping, and all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, there's a snuffling, snorting, tearing at your tent. A bear is right on the outside of your tent. So here's what's going to happen. Fun fact. You're going to get stressed real fast. Cortisol is going to go through the roof, because what's cortisol going to do is it's trying to bring sugar in the form of glycogen to your muscles so that you can do what? One of two things. You're going to fight the bear, or you're going to flee, fight or flight, flee from the bear. You're going to run. Unfortunately, unless you have another, the joke is I don't have to be faster than the bear. I just have to be faster than the person next to me. But those are the only two things that are going to happen. And that's a normal response. You want that to happen. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, when you're in that fight or flight moment where the cortisol hormone goes through the roof, which again is from the adrenal gland, that's going to turn off things like digestion. You don't need to be digesting food when you're running from a bear. You don't need that. So why waste? The body's incredibly smart. So like, why waste the energy? So you're not going to waste the energy. You're just like, I don't need to digest food right now because I might be being digested in a little bit if I don't run. And so that's a stress hormone. And that you can see how, let's say that I ran, and let's say that I tripped that friend that I didn't like very much. I'm just kidding. But like you run, you got away. Okay, fine. You made it. What's supposed to happen is cortisol will go back down and you're going to go back into rest and digest. So you're going to get a parasympathetic nervous system response. It's going to deactivate that stress hormone. It's going to activate some of these other hormones that are for rest, digest, turn your digestive system back on. Your immune system turns back on. Because remember, you don't need an immune system when you're running from a bear. You don't need that. So don't waste any energy on it. So you understand that's the stress response, and that's the normal bounce back from that. Unfortunately for you, we don't ever turn off our stress response because the way that we are right now in today's society is it's constant go. If you've got kids, I've got 5 kids. I feel like I don't ever get a minute where outside of like right now when I'm in my office working or I'm doing this, like I don't get a moment to myself, it feels like. And you know what? That's kind of self-induced. So 5 kids, I'm running around all the time. Like we're constantly go, go, go. Which kid goes to what? I think about my brother, and his kids are constantly doing they're a little bit, his older kids are, older than my kids on average. And so they're like going across the country for sporting events. They've consistently got, 3 kids in 3 states, it seems like. And that's insane to me, but that's them. And so, there's a lot of stress that comes with that. You're constantly on the go, right? So the stress response in our lives, if you're busy, you're working, or maybe you got, if you do have young kids and both, you and your spouse work, that's a whole nother level of stress. Or maybe it's a financial stress. It doesn't matter, right? For the sake of this conversation, you're stressed and it never turns off. So that constant stress response means a constant suppression of your immune system, suppression of your digestive system. And it's no surprise. I think the stat I found was 90%, 9 out of 10. That's a lot. Have 90% of people have at least one digestive symptom, meaning something wrong with their digestion. Does it make sense? If 100% of people are stressed, that almost 100% of people are going to have some form of digestive issue with dealing with the chronic stress. And that doesn't even talk about what cortisol, the hormone, actually does to your digestive system. There's other things that happen there as well. And that's, again, it's all part of the normal adaptive smart response of the brain. Again, we're talking about chronic stress. So what can you do? The easiest one, I'm going to tell you this. Well, and we don't have much time left, but go outside. Walk in the grass. Preferably pick some grass that has not been sprayed with like Roundup, but take your shoes off. Take your socks off. Put your feet in the grass. Or better yet, if you have like a garden, obviously you don't want to put your feet through what you're gardening, but if you have some dirt, put your feet in dirt. That's called grounding. And there's a gaggle of studies on this and what happens and the positive effects it has on your stress response. Putting your feet into Mother Earth and allowing that to, kind of wash away the negative, right? And so if you think about it, atmosphere is negatively charged, the ground is positively charged. So when we right now are kind of in between. So if you put your feet in the earth, it brings that positive charge into your body. Like I said, there's a lot of studies on this. If you want to go down a rabbit hole, there's a website, I think it's called grounding.com, or maybe it's earthing. Earthing, that's what it is. Earthing, like think earth, ing, I think it's .com. Earthing.com. It's got a lot of resources there. We have a grounding mat that I put on our bed that helps, kind of recharge us while we sleep. Because again, you got to find strategies with the stress because it will absolutely kill you faster than you're supposed to. So the other thing is that find something that will help you kind of remove that stress. For me, I love to read. I either physically read, or I listen to audiobooks. And I'll do, probably this year, I'm on pace for about 150 books. Now, you don't have to do that. You can just do one book, but read. Get yourself out of your head. I love fantasy and magic stuff. Like I'm a nerd. I love that stuff. So for me, that helps me just kind of like unplug from reality for a minute. It's for me, it's healthy. You maybe like mysteries. It doesn't really matter, whatever, but read something. Another thing I love to do is I like to play instruments. I have guitar. I love my ukulele. Uke is my favorite instrument of all time. For me, there's just nothing better than just sit there and just strumming a uke. Guitar, I'm not very good at it, but I try. I did harmonica for a while, but that annoyed every single person, so those got put away. But you find something that's going to help relieve that and give you that moment of peace. And sometimes it's just like for my wife, I would just need to be alone for a minute. Okay. So I try my best to give her that, which doesn't always happen. But find that peaceful scenario so that you can just undo the stresses of life. Otherwise, it will kill you. This has been Dr. Jake Schmitz with another Freedom Health Talk on Open Range. I hope this helps. Find the ways to increase the peace in your life, and you'll be better for it. Love y'all.
Now you can have the personalized forecast at your fingertips when you need it. Beck's exclusive Weather Insight is information tailored to you. Radar, weather alerts, forecasts, and videos. Download the free Weather on Beck News app. Search your app store now.
Hey y'all, it's Trent on the loose. Join me on the trip and unearth the stories on how we maintain a domestic supply of food and fuel for future generations of American citizens like our forefathers did.
We're the ladies of Another View. Join us at 9 a.m. weekday mornings.
We'll discuss issues you care about from local and national perspectives.
You'll hear unique stories from fellow North Dakotans, plus topics in the national spotlight.
Start your day off right with Ladies of Another View.
Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Beck TV and online at beck.news.
Hi, I'm Scott Hennon, host of the What's on Your Mind program on Beck TV now. From Baker, Montana to St. Cloud, Minnesota, and everywhere in between. We're looking forward to having a conversation with you about what matters most. We're talking to newsmakers, from members of Congress to the state legislature, and most importantly, the good folks that make up the great state of North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Montana. Every single day, you get a chance to tell us what's on your mind. And now you can watch What's on Your Mind live on Beck TV. Tune in 10 a.m. live for What's on Your Mind.
At the heart of every small town are the people that live there and the businesses that serve them. From sporting events to 4-H, Lions clubs to hospital foundations, Bassett Motors has worked for the past 23 years to make sure the heart of its area small towns continues to be the people. With over 15 employees, Bassett Motors prides itself on small town service with personal attention. Bassett Motors, where our customers send their friends.
$27,000 in credit card debt.
You have to radically do something different, because if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting.